So hello and welcome to this very special Brookside reunion, and we've got some absolute legends taking part today. We've got more joining a little bit later, so let's say hello to everybody on the call, starting with the brilliant Suzanne Collins. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Happy to be here and see everyone.
Well, thank you so much for taking part. It's great to have you on. And we've got the brilliant Michael Starke is in the building. Thank you for taking part.
Well, I've got my granddaughter Flora.
Hello.
Oh. Mickey, what's her name?
Laura.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and a guest appearance as well, an adorable guest appearance. Let's say hello to the brilliant Bryan Murray. Thank you for taking part in this today.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. And the lovely and glamorous Marji. It's great to have you on the show.
Hi. It's great to be here and see everybody. It's lovely.
And Annie, thank you for coming on for this Brookside reunion. I know you've done some of the stuff before, but it must be great to see everybody again on the same screen.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Let's say hello to the brilliant Eithne. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, no, it's great. I'm very happy to be here. And it's lovely to see people I've worked with since leaving Brookside. Mark and John, Suzanne, Mick. It's lovely to see all your faces, Annie. Oh, yeah. Very nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Anne-Marie Davis, thank you for taking part.
Thanks for having me. And again, like Eithne just said, lovely to see everyone. See quite a lot of you still on social media, so it's nice to actually have a conversation rather than typing. So thanks for having me, Lewis.
Thank you very much. And Leon's back on the show. Leon was on the show a few months ago promoting some incredible work that you were doing. So thanks for coming back and for helping get a lot of these people on today. So how are you?
No, they're good. And if I look like I'm typing, I'm messaging a couple of other people who are trying to see if they can come on. But it'll be a surprise if they do. But I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on, and no problem.
Thank you.
Yes, good to see everybody. And yeah, don't know what to say. I feel a bit nervous, to be honest. I'm scratching myself for everything, thinking, oh no. But yeah, no, it's good.
Put yourself together.
I know, yeah. You do.
And lovely Claire Sweeney, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for taking part in this today.
Well, this is great for me because I was a fan of the show for years. So I'm kind of like the people who I was in it with are mates, and then, you know, like Trevor Jordash, Bryan Murray, and, you know, people who was in it before me. It's great seeing everyone, you know, being a fan from that era.
That's incredible. And we got Mark as well. Let's take
Collins.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
Is that my intro? Hi, Luke. I'm very good. Thanks so much for having me. It's brilliant. Thanks for rooting me out. I don't know how you did it, but well done. Yeah, it's great to be here. Some people I've not seen for 25, 30 years or so. So no one's changed. Brilliant.
Great to have you on the show.
Finally got here after all that technical problems, but it's nice seeing everyone's faces again, and some of you I've seen, obviously, and we see each other on other social media, but it's nice to have you all together in one go.
No, it's great to have you on. Thank you so much. It's going to be great stories that we'll hopefully hear a little bit later today. But let's say hello to Justine, who is on the call as well. Thank you so much for taking part.
Hi, thanks for asking me. Yeah, it's lovely to see everyone, the new and the old cast, and I think I've spoken to John Mack more on Zoom than we did when we were working together years ago.
Have we got Paula? Hello, Paula.
Hiya! Please excuse me because this is my home studio and I've only just finished teaching boot camp, so I'm like a big sweaty mess. So I've been up since 6 working all day like you do, and I nearly bailed. I was like, I can't go on looking like this, but I just want to see everyone's faces. So hello, everyone.
Hey, Paul.
Hiya.
So what I would love to ask everybody, so I'm going to ask the same question, but just hear your kind of response individually. So everybody, when we watch the show, we see what they edit together, but we love to know what funny behind the scenes stories that you might have. So when you think back to your time on the show, is there a kind of funny moment that we as viewers wouldn't know about? So maybe it could be kind of like a joke on set or a funny moment that just jumps out to you. So starting with Suzanne.
I think anything with Mickey Starke was funny, you know, anything with Mickey Starke.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Mickey had the ability to, like,
oh my God,
crease you up, and you'd be going to do like a really dramatic scene where you have to break down crying or whatever. he'd have you laughing till they say action, then he'd get a straight face.
Yeah.
And
He was impossible to work with. He was terrible. Terrible, but I loved it.
Self-control you had, Mickey.
I was banned from working with him. Many a director banned me from working with you. Remember?
Did he?
Banned.
I could just go on and take the mick. But I was these people, they're liars. They cheat on themselves.
Whatever.
I really had no appreciation of the work or the craft or anything. I just went to work for a laugh. It was only 15 minutes from our house. And,
Oh, handy.
right?
I spent most of my life on the train coming up and down from London.
Well, yeah, I remember spending a lot of time, because I still do live in Brighton, just before Brookside, I was living in London, and I thought, no, it's not really happening here. So we moved right to the edge of the coast, down to the south coast, and of course I immediately got a job about as far away as you could possibly get from Brighton. So, so that's the way my sort of career has gone ever since, really. But
you went to New Brighton, Mark. You'd have been all right.
Yeah, I know. That was I know. I was tempted at one point, but not that. But yeah. A lot of travelling, but good fun. When you got there, it was great fun.
Well, talking of great fun, let's go to Suzanne and see what your funny kind of behind the scenes story. Is there something that jumps out? I know it's kind of one of those things where it makes you think, but is there anything on the top of your head that stands out as a good behind the scenes story?
It's the same, really, Mickey. It's just when you're with Mickey, he lights up a room everywhere he goes. But and he won't be doing the most serious. Like I don't know. All my storylines were quite sad. I was always crying and whatever. But when you were with Mickey, you were always laughing. It was wonderful. And we were young. It was 100 years ago, it seems, wasn't it? So we were all teenagers, and the city was ours, and it was just. It wasn't like work. You just couldn't believe that you were getting paid. You're like, are you sure? It was. It was wonderful. We just bounced into work every day and made the best of friends. And I know people say it, but everyone was so lovely. And I just, like a big family, weren't we?
Yeah. I think, Suzanne, you saying that because we were young and we were local as well. Yeah. Most jobs you'd have to travel to, and this was like a 9-to-5 job, wasn't it, more or less, on your doorstep? But you were on the telly and you were getting paid.
Except for me.
It was just a massive laugh every day, wasn't it?
I think also the crew, everybody got on with the crew as well as the actors. So it wasn't like cliquey at all. Everybody knew everybody, and it was a great feeling.
On a Friday night.
I think the thing with Brookside that was so good, there was no like hierarchy, as in like the actors are this. You go to other shows and sometimes it's like the actors have got this amount of power. Like every single.
Sullivan didn't think that. Dean Sullivan didn't think there was no hierarchy.
Let's not speak of the people who aren't here.
Why couldn't he come on?
He was skinny, but I don't know. I think he couldn't last minute.
He was busy.
Yeah.
I love him. I'd love him to have been here. Is he all right?
Yes, he's good. He's good. He's good. He's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I carry on one.
The crew and on other shows since, and everybody says what a happy time we had and what good training they had. People who are now directors, like Leon, and camera operators who are now directors.
Yeah.
I've had jobs from people, and I've had a phone call saying, "You won't remember me, Mickey. I was a trainee at Brookie. I was 5, and we were on the set day, and all of a sudden the producers and directors, and it's nice. And I go, of course I remember you.
I got Emmerdale off the back of it. Jane Hudson, who's the producer there now, remembered me from doing the gigs because she was working in the script department, and she was like, when I wrote to her, she was so thankfully like I wasn't too much of a dickhead because she would come in and then she offered me a job. So everybody from everywhere, like DOPs from there, first cameras, like everywhere I've been, somebody from Brookie's there. So there is a. I've got my stuff. I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say, Leon. I know what you're going to say.
Face
kiss. You know what? The crew played tricks as well, didn't they?
So we me and Suzanne, when we got together in the show, we hadn't we've known each other a bit, but hadn't been in there that long, neither of us had, and we'd never kissed anybody or any. So we had to do our first kiss.
I'm telling you, I kissed other people now.
Yeah. I had actually. I was no, I had. So we're getting ready to do it, and we're there, and we've been nervous, and so we're gearing up for it, and they go action. Then we did the kiss, and we're kissing, and we're kissing, and it's like. And they just leaving us to do. They'd finished, called cut, but they decided so we did it now and just kept us going there. So
it said to us, you always carry on acting until we stay cut. So they didn't say anything, and they told silently they went off. We were neck and frisk.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I remember my first kiss with Bryan Regan, and it's the cameras are right here, and you've got to be quite intimate. And I remember he went, "You're not supposed to have your mouth open," because it was like a proper kiss. And of course, you should really just have your mouth closed, like that, really, because otherwise it looks like you're swallowing someone. So that was a bit awkward. So
I think that when they have a screen kiss and they just leave you and it goes on for. You should have said to Bryan. He said you shouldn't have your mouth open. You said, Bryan, you should have your trousers on. So.
I do remember, because we film things, so maybe it was 6 weeks ahead. So it'd be winter when it was autumn, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to get it right. So it would be. I just remember we had to act like we weren't cold, and we'd have a vest top on, but beneath we'd have water bottles and Coke, wrapped around our waists, and the crew was saying, "Can you stop shivering?" And they'd all hats on and scarves and bear gangs fleeces and stuff, and we'd be,
other mix are available. I'm joking.
I do remember filming some.
Trendy.
I do remember filming some Christmas scenes, and we used to have fake wine on the table. Remember that you'd have Ribena for red wine and things. And somebody, I know it was, but I'm not going to say who it was.
Oh, you can go on.
Say it.
No, Bill Gladys Ambrose glass and kept filling it with real wine.
Oh, brilliant.
She was flattered.
Nice.
It was an absolute scream throughout the whole day.
That's very unique, because it was so cold a lot of the time.
It was down.
I remember our breath going out like this when you're out at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of winter.
Like you smoking.
The cold job. The crew would all be there in their cold weather clothes and their big jackets, and we'd be in, light clothes inside the house with the window open, the doors open.
Yes.
Freezing.
Did you not get your long johns? They used to give us, wardrobe used to give us thermal underwear to put under.
I was too fat to get them on, love. I couldn't.
I was going to say, and as well as Mickey, he used to make you laugh all the time. Another one was Stephen Pinder. He used to always have that twinkle in his eye. Every time you scene with him, you're trying to be serious, and he'd be looking at you when the camera wasn't on him. He was another little.
Whenever I did a scene with Stevie, we'd move him out of shot or out the way and put matchsticks in the mortar lines of the bricks for the eye line. We couldn't look at one another. I mean, because he was always taking a Mickey, but John Mack and I always had the biggest problem. We went every time we did a scene. They cut us out of scenes. What would happen if John and I were in the same scene? I was leaving just as he was coming in, and vice versa. Kate Fitzgerald, who played his first wife, Tori, and Justine, and she was hitting across the face saying, "Stop laughing! I can't help it. He's making me laugh." And I was outside the door in a Father Christmas outfit, and I'd say knock. As my hand went up to the door, and John saw through the glass, he started laughing. And we went 4 hours behind, and Mal Young, who's was the first AD on it that day, and he was giving us the right rollicking and shouting at us and saying, "Look, the crew, I've got to, you're going behind. The crew will be here now. You get to right for me like that." Just had to get to a certain cutting point. So John had to come down the path, and then we were all right. We couldn't do it, and we had a break. And we went for lunch and all that kind of stuff. And we were talking to each other saying, look, we've got to do this, mate. And we are like, okay, we'll do it. So we had to go, first go, right, we go for a take. We did it. And just as the cutting point, he said, oh, no good. MGFS. The cameras. So we went, oh, well, at least we got through it. And then when we went to the next one, we went again. So they gybbed it for the day, didn't they, John?
I think they did, yeah. I think that was it. I couldn't speak. I just couldn't speak. I just used to see your silhouette in the glass. Gone. Didn't even have to say anything. I was gone. Brilliant. And we got paid to do that. We got paid.
No.
As everyone knows, but you know, when it goes on that long, the last thing you want to do in the world is laugh again, which makes it more funny.
Makes it worse.
You're always doing the same place.
Oh yeah.
You know it's coming up, don't you?
Yeah.
And you think, I'm not going to do it now. I'm not going to do it. I'm professional. But you always go in the same place.
Yeah.
The line's coming up. You see the line coming from Watford, and you go, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah.
Suzanne.
I think one of the people that made me laugh the most was, and it was funnier because it was the least expected. Really, was Kathleen Cartledge, who played Lucy. Yeah. And I know she'd obviously been in it right from the beginning, and then there was another Lucy, and then she came back when I was in it, and I was thinking, oh my God, you know, this actress, she's just been working with Stephen Burkoff, and she's done all loads of Mike Leigh stuff, and I was kind of a bit awestruck, and I thought, oh God, you know, I just felt a bit of a hack really, but we got on brilliantly, and I made her laugh, you know, and that's all it takes for me. So it was brilliant, and she was absolutely lovely, and you know, we just had a great fun. But it was fun because it was sort of unexpected, you know. So it was lovely.
Bryan, what about you? When you think back to kind of your time on the show, do you have a funny story or a moment that jumps out to you?
I don't think there were many laughs in your storyline, were there?
I was just about to say, this is the Jordache family you're talking about. We need no laughs at all. The strangest thing was, one day, after about 3 weeks into it, I was only in the show for 8 weeks, and then suddenly there was a 2 or 3 policemen came onto the set, and everything stopped. And somebody was pointing over to me. So I thought, oh, Jesus, what's going on here? So the police came over and said, we're here to take care of you because there's been a threat from somebody who says that their girlfriend was been molested by her boyfriend, and she was fine before she saw Brookside, but it put her back again into the trauma that she was experiencing, and she was having a breakdown again, and I'm going to get that bastard who tripped for Jordache. Oh, so I had a police escort for nearly 10 days. Oh. No, lots of laughs with Trevor. Yeah, absolutely.
That wasn't the funny behind the scenes story I was expecting, but it's very different. Wow.
I can't believe you were only in it for 8 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, 8 weeks. That was it.
8 weeks. That's crazy because it was such a monumental storyline.
Yeah. You always
the same thing in Brookie, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
But it was brilliantly thought out, and it was very kind of condensed. There was no spare in it. Do you know what I mean? And working with Sandra and that, it was a bit nerve-wracking to begin with, as you can imagine. But we got on so well, and we stayed in touch since, and all that stuff. So it was a joy to do, and an honor to do it, and people still talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how that is. Look at me now. You're like, hello, Trevor. Oh yeah.
I'm the body.
I'm still alive. Yeah.
The mate of mine was got the script, and he was the hand under the he was the hand under the patio, and when they found the body, it was Paul Broughton's character and Eddie Banks, and then in the back garden, and this lad Mike Woolley, he was sent the script and everything, and he wasn't told. He was like, look, you know, you're going to do this special thing. You couldn't tell him anymore, and he was really excited. It was going to be featured, And he didn't realise until he got there on the day that what it was going to be was the hand. And he was laying there with a flagstone over one part of him, and then that gets lifted and his hand moves, you know, and that was it. You know, his claim to fame. Brilliant. No, he said he didn't realise what it was. He thought he was going in some super character, but he was actually the hand. Yeah.
And Eithne, were you going to say something just then?
I was going to say, I have to go because I've got a meeting about work I'm doing tomorrow.
No.
But I just wanted to say that I don't know if anybody remembers, but I had terrible trouble with my children in that they kept getting their heads changed. He would leave their children with me for long. First Katie, she came back as somebody else. And then Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
Actually left and came back with a completely different head. So, I'm a very careless mother. Anybody? But, I'm so sorry that we couldn't start earlier because I have to leave now, and it's a shame.
Well, it's great to have
you, and perhaps we can do it again.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
See you for coffee.
I'll see you next week.
Love you. I'll give you a call
soon. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh, love you, Ed.
Marji, what stands out as a funny moment that you always kind of have like memories of, like a funny story that we wouldn't know from watching the show?
Oh God, now you put me on the spot. Well, it's mainly to do with Mickey, of course. But Suzanne and I had a few laughs. Do you remember when we had to crouch down in that tiny corner? We couldn't get up afterwards.
Is that true?
I can't even remember the
Movie morning. I do remember that bungalow was tiny. Was it inside the bungalow?
Sorry?
Was it inside the bungalow? I do remember us being crouched. Yeah. It's quite small.
And we were in agony.
Yeah.
But the trouble is you start laughing and then you have to do another take. And in the end we could hardly walk because we kept falling about. We just kept giggling, and then they had to do so many takes. Disgraceful.
Yes.
But it's just something that just sets you off like that.
Yeah.
There's certain people you can't look at.
Yes.
Whatever job you do, there's somebody you can't look at.
I remember little Rob
doing the worst, of course.
I remember little Rob, the boom operator. Remember little Rob? Remember the boom operator. I might have hit the corner of his eye. Sorry, you're right. He'd be shaking. You could see him shaking, laughing. Yeah. So that'd send us laughing. Yeah.
And then sometimes you get through it, and somebody on the crew laughs, so that you have to do it again because of them.
Hi, Jackson.
Yeah. I'd say little Rob. Rob was hired for his height because he could walk along to the kitchen. Because when you had to fit everybody in that, the crew and everybody in the house.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember I had a funny moment, but you know when you think something's funny, but no one else does, and everyone's fuming with you. And I had to do a wild track, and not long started in the show, and we were breaking up for Christmas, right? And everyone was trying to get off, and it was like a Friday, and everyone was wanting to get off, and everyone was finished, and their head was out of it. And I had a scene, this wild track. I had to put Kylie Corkill on my lap, so I put my foot up on the leg of a stool, and I've got her on my lap and I'm patting her back, but I farted. And the wild track, guys. My leg was up on the stool. It was just my position, and I let a big one go. Well, I got that nervous laughter, but everyone was fuming with me, and the more they got angry with me, because farting just finishes me, and it was the shame, the embarrassment. It made me laugh. And everyone was fuming, and I was like, oh no. And I still, when I think about it now, I still get embarrassed,
Yeah, Claire, that's the funniest. That's the funniest one we've had yet. Incredible.
It's amazing.
Dean Sullivan was another one I couldn't look at.
Dean, Dean was a nightmare. Yeah, you're right. It was just a look off Dean sometimes, though, wasn't it? Or just one line.
I did a play with him at the Playhouse, written by Phil Redmond, and he actually walked off stage one day because he was corpsing so much he had to walk off stage.
I remember that. What was it called, that play?
It was that we did.
What was the play called? I remember that.
Yeah, Annie, you did that, didn't you? It was.
I can't remember.
It was soap lights. It was
Soap
called.
lights. Soap lights. Yeah, on the first night, all the seats kept going flipping up because it was so bad.
Well, it's because it was so long. It was so long. I had to go over and get that.
People ignored us. It was so bad.
But then Phil got about 20 pages.
Soap lights, black. You know, everyone would come on
the next night.
There was no movement. It was all sort of all Phil's words. There was a
little boy.
1 million pages. Unbelievable.
Rob.
Is that your little boy, Claire?
Yeah, Jackson.
Hello.
Hello, Jackson.
That was that was a triumph, wasn't it? Soap lights. It was a real triumph.
Yeah, I remember.
One of the critics said this play makes Hamlet's home life look happy.
Mickey, what about when we were doing that main sneak up? We had to eat a dinner scene. Was it you filled up? We were eating chili, but you filled it up with real chili, so we couldn't even speak because our mouth was so hot.
Who was this?
Was either Mickey or Lewis? I'm sure it was one of his.
Lewis.
Probably Lewis.
He probably blamed you and you blamed him.
Lewis.
20.
Yeah.
Hello.
No, it's not 20.
Oh. And also my very first time on set, I remember my character came in and his dad had just died, and in the script it said the food had come around and it was rice and peas. So we were going around, then the food come out and it was rice with green peas. And we were like, what's that? They're like, oh, it's rice and peas. It says it in the script. They're like, that's not rice and peas. Meant to me. I think a lot of people probably hadn't really tried rice and peas back then. But me and Lewis were talking now.
Remember?
Oh, there's hello.
Oh.
Okay. How are you, love? Oh, I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, got a mask.
Thank you for joining us. We were just talking about everybody's funny moments behind the scenes. So do you have any kind of funny stories from behind the scenes that we wouldn't know about that you can kind of remember on the top of your head?
Oh my goodness, there's too many. We spent our life kind of growing up on camera, so we were always getting into trouble and causing mayhem and I don't know. No, I'm just trying to think of funny things that happened. There was just so many. What have you guys all said? I'm sorry, I'm passing my car and I'm late. I'm really, really sorry.
No, don't worry. Thanks for coming on.
What have you said, Leon?
I said about when me and Suzanne were kissing and they made us kiss for ages, and then when
they
put load of chili. He says it wasn't him, but he says it was. I'm sure it was you, Mickey. Lewis definitely said it was you with the chili and the food.
He would say it was me.
Oh, there's just loads of things, like loads of kinds of tricks that people played on each other and stuff. I can't even remember one off the top of my head, but there was just too many.
Well, we found out that Michael was a pranker.
Dinosaur impression. Have you heard Michael's dinosaur impression?
I don't. What you said? What did you say? I was a prank. Did you say I was a pranker?
Pranker, yeah.
I've been called something similar many times. Oh yeah. I used to do. I did a dog impression, which had one of the directors going nuts, and he was a hell of a nice fella. I just couldn't resist. And we were filming at a big hall with Alex Fletcher's wedding, and I was going. This director was going there. Who's that? The bloody dog! Somebody should.
Was it Patrick Tucker? Patrick Tucker, that's what I was going to say.
I said, we can't shut him up. It's Lord Derby's dog. He said, okay, ready? All right, everyone. Okay, but be quiet. They seem to have stopped. And I went, but what clinched it? I went, get out of it. And it sounds very close. Sounds very close. Over there, Patrick, oh.
I put my hand up to a mistake. I'm sorry, because I don't mean to insult Phil. It wasn't that play that the critics said was made Hamlet's home life look happy. It was a play by Jimmy McGovern called City Echoes.
Oh, right.
That was that. So I don't mean. So that was a mistake. Sorry, Phil.
Just Google that, Marge. Marge just let that Google it to make sure.
Sorry?
Just Google that to make sure that you got it right.
I remember a time, just when you say when you just can't stop giggling, and it doesn't even sound funny now, but it was Suzanne and I, and my character was called Katrina, and she was called Treen. And there was a time when I was in a neck brace, because my sort of had a bit of an accident, and she was saying to me, "How's your neck, Treen?" And all I was, "How's your nectarine?" But the more you said nectarine, I just imagined my head as this big nectarine, and we just couldn't stop laughing. And it was the storyline when they changed over the words of Trina's tots, and they swapped the I and the O, so it said Trina's tits. It was really bizarre, because the other day on Twitter, some guy mentioned on Twitter, "I remember you when they swapped the I and the O," and I was like, "Oh my God, you've got a good memory." That was like 20 years ago. But that was the scene when me and Suzanne just couldn't stop laughing. You know, you just get a belly laugh, like saying before, and you just can't stop. That's one moment.
I remember that.
Operator, when I had to kiss Stephen Fletcher, and he was like my little brother. He was about 10 years younger than me, and it just felt so wrong. Like doing this screen kiss and taking his belt off. I was like, this is so wrong on all levels, and there's
I always feel sorry for broom operators. It's horrible, isn't it? I mean, to stand there for hours in the first place, but if you get your corpsing, God.
And they're normally tall, aren't they? But Rob was only like that, wasn't he? He said little.
Is anybody there? I can't remember what scene it was, but I know we were by the garage, and my character had the car, and Steve Cole, who played Leo, would like, he was always up for anything. But I've always wanted to get into a boot of a car. She's like, "Go on, get in." He gets in the boots, and we closed the boot and went for dinner and left them. Oh God.
John, do you have any funny stories that you can kind of?
Well, there's that many, like you were saying before, but there was one in particular, and we used to get some great guests, didn't we, on the program? We used to get wonderful guests, and one of them was who sadly died a few months ago, Alan Igbon.
Oh, yeah.
And Alan came to join the cast, and I loved working with him. And he was in it for about 8 weeks, and you know, all the kids used to wait at the end of the close for your autograph. We were coming out once. We were coming out one day, and the kid said, "Hey, Billy, give us your autograph, mate." So I went, "All right." And I said, "Do you want to get his?" And he went, "Who's he?" I said, "Hey, that's Alan Igbon. He's been in the black stuff and everything." He went, "Never seen it. I'm too young," you know, and all this. And then I went, he said, "When he's been in it and I've seen him, I'll ask for it." All right. So about 6 weeks later, when Alan's stuff's gone out on the screen, Alan said, "I walked out this day," and he said, "That kid came up and he went, hey mate, come here, give us your autograph." He said, so I gave him my autograph, Alan Igbon, and he went, "What's that?" He said, "That's my name." He says, "Don't put that, put Billy's mate." So it was stuff like that, you know, off camera.
Yeah.
It was great fun.
They're the stories people love to hear. I mean, Justine, what about you? You must have some great stories that you can kind of tell us, especially funny ones.
Yeah, at 6 o'clock in the Corkles on a Friday, John, I think you'll agree, around the table was always a bit of a nightmare, wasn't it? And you were always waiting for the crew, particularly the Sparks, to say, "Right, that's it, no overtime." And the director would just want to get that last bit of the scene in. And, do you remember when we had to do the Atmos, what is it? And Jason had to tap the back of the tomato sauce bottle, and the lid come off the tomato sauce bottle just went flying all over the table. And then it was just like hysterical laughter, wasn't it? And then you're not going to get it back after that, are you? All we're thinking of doing was getting to the septum, wasn't it?
That was brilliant. I remember the sauce bottle. Yeah. I remember doing one scene with Jason, right? And Jason, and I had a 3-page scene with Jason, right? And Jason had gone. He'd gone completely, and the camera was just on me. So I did all my lines and just waited for silences in between. And I got through the scene, and he hadn't said one word. I just had to wait. He wasn't coming in, so I thought I've got to get through this one scene. And Jason said nothing all the way through. I loved it.
I remember a scene, I was doing a scene where I had to change Daniel's nappy on the bed. And I was looking up at Bryan Regan and chatting away and changing the baby's nappy. And the baby just started to wee all over me. Even aware of it. And suddenly it was like, ah, fucking hell. It was like all over me. So we had to start the scene again. And with little boys, they pee like that, don't they? So it was like,
in an arc.
Yeah.
Still do.
I'm back.
So do big boys sometimes, yeah.
Paula, can you hear us? I think it says you're on mute. Do you have a funny moment that you kind of talk to us about?
Well, I was at the same with Justine. It was always funny in the corridors. When I was there, there seemed to be like lots of bodies constantly in the garage. Every time there was a scene, there was like another body come out. It was like, you know, a string, John, Michelle, Justine, Dean, Nikki. And I was actually in a scene in the corner shop, you know, acting my heart out like you do, buying a loaf of bread. And Nikki came along and did a Spider-Man impression right across the front of the window. So that's my big moment. We had a weekend as well. Well, it might have even been longer at Alton Towers. And we've just talked about this, me and Justine recently. And Gladys wore high heels all the time. Oh. And so she refused to wear flats, and it's very hilly, you know, in Alton Towers. And then we were going towards the corkscrew. It was all written in that me and Gladys were going on the corkscrew together, and she literally screamed the whole way down because nobody had told her she was going on the corkscrew. And so we had to get a body double. And poor Gladys was still screaming when we finished. She said, I couldn't have done that. It was a bit mean. But anyway, Gladys was just my favourite. I loved it. And you, of course, Justine, but it was always a laugh every day with me.
So, Michelle's joined. I'm not sure if everyone can see Michelle Byatt is on the screen. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Late to the party, as always.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. I'm sorry, I look very attractive. I've been teaching dance.
You look lovely.
Gorgeous. Oh, thanks.
Michelle, we just asked everyone about kind of funny moments behind the scenes that we don't always know about, and everybody's gave their answer. So what stands out for you as a funny story or a moment that you've got?
I went to the obvious one. Justine will tell you. Justine will tell you my funny story. Go on, Justine.
The kissing scene.
Oh my God, this story is horrendous. And God love the poor guys who were cast to play our boyfriends. They were probably only like 30, but we thought they were ancient. Now that I'm 50, now like we're 50, we think we're really young. So, but anyway, these guys and Bryan, the director, said, and he was just being a minx. He said I had to kiss him, and it wasn't necessary because the story wasn't about me. It was about Justine, and yet he made me kiss this man, and I was just like,
for ages.
But I was so unprofessional. I really was.
You actually looked like you were going to puke when you were.
No, if you look back on it, I literally go, it's like a goldfish. It looked like something off V. Remember V, the program with the The other thing was funny. I was thinking after our last reunion, me and our Paul did a scene. Sorry, Paul can't come on. And I went into Ron's shop, and you know the way I walked it fast and minced into quick, and then walked past our Paul, and then Mal said, "Oh, do you know what was really funny? I was thinking there was a bit of chemistry there between you two." And then I suddenly realised your brother and sister. I was like, yes. I thought, no, do you know what? We didn't get paid. We got paid a good amount of money in them days, but it really wasn't enough to be kissing my own brother. I can't even kiss anyway.
Brookside was known for such powerful stories, sometimes controversial, sometimes they were kind of the first of its time. So I want to ask everybody what their standout scene is. So when you think back to your time on the show and your character, what stands out as one of your favourite, most enjoyable scenes to actually be part of? So again, we'll start with Suzanne and make our way back down the grid. So Suzanne, what stands out for you as your kind of favourite ever standout scene?
Well, my Drug Raid storyline went on for like over a year, and I didn't even know who'd I didn't know who'd raped my character, if that makes sense. So everybody used to ask, who raped you? I was like, I don't know. But it was the first time they'd done drug rape on the television, and no one had ever been put away for it. And it was just Phil Redmond seemed to do things when they happened in real life. Like, it was, gosh, you know, people being buried under the patio. And then the next minute, Fred West was burying people under the patio. And it was like, how does he know these things? And then it was like, not him, you know what I mean? It was just, everything sort of fell into place. So the drug rape storyline, the Rohypnol, when my storyline was happening, it happens like, you know, the very first DJ or something who was put away for doing it as well. And the response from people, the letters you get from people who had actually been drug raped, who hadn't, you know, told their families, and watching the storyline, we used to say, well, watching Nikki get on with her life, and it's inspiring and it's helping us. And Brookside was the first people to put up helplines at the end of the show, and now it's on practically every programme, isn't it? You know,
that's interesting that you say that as well, especially when you said that people actually got in touch with you, because I guess for you as an actor, when you're going out there doing a scene and doing it justice, to actually have people reach out to you with their personal experiences, that kind of must be a big feeling.
Yeah, and different like locations and different things. It's kind of responsibility, really, isn't it? It's, well, it was a responsibility for the writers, I suppose, and they did it well. They did it really, really well. We just told the story, I suppose. For one scene, I've just popped in my brain, when Nikki couldn't, she was going to kill herself, she was going to jump off the roof, and that was filmed in town, and it was next to the Royal Course, like a very tall hotel, and it was with Jeremy Summers, and it was like the middle of the night, and I don't know why, I always remember that. So it was Nikki and Luke Musgrove, and I was going to throw myself off the roof because it was Luke who had raped her, and he wouldn't admit it, and she said, well, I'm just going to kill myself then. I just remember that being quite dramatic, and it was with Jeremy Summers, who was one of the best directors ever, wasn't he? Yes, yeah. I feel lucky because I had lots of wonderful scenes with every one of them, with so many wonderful people. Feel lucky, yeah. There's too many to mention, really, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Michael,
can I just put in?
Yeah,
sorry, Lewis, I've got to go. I've got to go.
Thank you so much, Justine.
It was nice to join everyone and see everyone.
Bye,
Justine.
Bye, Justine. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Well, Bryan, thank you so much for and of course, I mean, Claire mentioned it earlier, your character in such a short amount of time became one of the most iconic characters in the show's history. I mean, that must be a great feeling for you that you made that much of an impression in such a short time.
It was quite extraordinary, yes, and it's still there. People still say after all these years, "All right, Trevor," you know, and you're kind of going, "How do you can you tell this is Trevor?" But it was we kind of knew after the first 2 or 3 days that we were onto something really special, and working with Sandra, Sandra made it easy, you know, to do that beating scene and to have conversations. And we went out afterwards. We got so drunk, Sandra Maitland and I, during that show. Wow. You know, I mean, seriously, you know, a bottle of red wine each after the show. So, but it was glorious. I absolutely loved it. I just loved it, and still, and I'm so happy I was so happy to be here today. So I'm going to have to go now.
Thank you so much,
Brian. Take
care.
Thank you, Brian.
The best. Keep well. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Michael, you were involved in some great and huge storylines in the show. So it's obviously a tough question because you had so many, but what stands out to you as one of your most enjoyable scenes just to be part of, you know, favorite storyline?
Interestingly enough, these are all my mates and I work with them. I can pick any one of them and say I had a great scene with them all. But the one, I mean, I like the laughs. I like when the character had laughs. I liked it, you know, because when I left, because that had kind of gone from my character and it was changing and stuff and what have you. But there was a scene of the Jordache storyline in particular was really heavy for Sandra and Anna Friel and Tiff, who was only 12 when she started, Tiffany Chapman, and they had to deal with all that. I didn't. I could go home and kind of forget about it, but they were living it. But we had a scene, it was a night scene, and Jeremy Summers, who Suzanne mentioned before, a lovely director, we had the scene with Anna Friel where we had to dig up the body. People used to say to me, "Oh, you buried the body in the back." I said, "No, never. I dug him up because he had a ring, which was a family heirloom, long story, but he had to come up and we had to get the ring back." And Sinbad had kind of, you know, knew what was happening with the family, so he sort of got in with them. He was very protective towards them. And Mandy, Sandra's character Mandy, was kind of thinking, well, this is, you know, we've got to use this, you know. And I volunteered to dig up the body. So we did this scene. It was a night shoot. As per usual, the middle of summer, so we had to wait till about 11 o'clock before it got dark. And all that happened was I was to dig, get down so far, find this plastic bag, and then literally break down. And you know, I couldn't carry on. This was going to be so overwhelming. And then Anna Friel's character, Beth, would come over, and she got into the grave to take the spade from me. And, you know, and then my character would think, well, I can't let this kid do this. So I take it back. And it was, you know, so at one point I had to really crack up and just let it all go. I'm thinking, we rehearsed all day. There's no dialogue. Jeremy Summers was lovely. There were 3 cameras on us, so we wouldn't have to cut in. We could do it all in one. Couldn't see the crew. They were all behind bushes everywhere. It was just, you know, I know people sometimes say, you know, you get in the zone, but this was the one time for me. And what happened was I thought, well, what happens if I get to that point where I'm supposed to cry and I can't cry? You know, because sometimes you do, you just dry and there's nothing. And Davy Jones, who was our makeup guy at the time, and he said, look, I'll give you some BAFTA stick. I said, what's BAFTA stick? It was a stick of menthol. He said, just put it on your finger. And when you come to the point where you think you're going to, and you might not become, just maybe a little sniff or maybe rub your eye. I thought, genius. I said, well, look, I'm digging, so you'll have to put quite a bit on. So he did. It was like a snail on my finger. He put this menthol. So I'm digging and digging. And honestly, it was a tremendous scene. I really did enjoy it. And I went, plastic bag. And I went. And everything just went. The tears, snot, the lot, everything just came out of me. And I was shaking, absolutely shaking. And then the light from the kitchen, Anna Friel's silhouette came across the grave. And she is a terrific actress. And she got down into the grave and her big blue eyes, I think she was 16 at the time. And she went to take this spade from me. And I was looking at this kid's beautiful little face and these eyes and the tears. So I take the spade back off her, and that gives me the strength to carry on. But she did something that we hadn't rehearsed. And as I bent down, she put her hand on my head. And I went again. It was just one of those wonderful moments.
Yeah.
And I carried on, and I'd forgotten about cameras. I forgot we were in the scene. I forgot we were filming a drama. And then next thing I heard, cut. We'd done it in one. It was all done. And I went, great. Oh, fantastic. Tears were so I went, oh, great.
Fine again.
I burned my eyes. And
I used to be.
I had to wait. And then one of the crew took me home because I couldn't drive. And I went home, and everyone else had gone home and stuff. And the first aiders, and my eyes had come up, you know, and it was, to my wife, and she's an actor, and she sort of looked at me, but I was going, my eyes, I had to cry. And she said, oh, you're not that bleeding good, get in. I couldn't go to work for days. My eyes are literally swollen, but that was, I mean, for all the fun, I liked all the fun, and my character sort of lost all that, I think, toward the end. But that was the one that stood out. And for them, because it was such a storyline, such a heavy thing that they had to live with, you know, and they got all the letters, they got all the, you know, all back from people, and it was a really, really heavy time. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That was brilliant, a great story. I mean, Marji, what about you? When you think back to your character on the show, what storyline and scene did you enjoy the most? That kind of always stands out for you.
I think one of the first things that I had a long monologue about having had a miscarriage, and that was really, well, an abortion really. That was wonderful speech, very long. But I think one that stays with me was when after the fire in the bungalow, because it was so. Do you remember, Suzanne? Yeah. Everything in there was black.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never seen a place that had caught fire before, and this must have been so authentic. I mean, the things like the plastic kettle were twisted out of shape, and the walls were black.
Black, yeah.
And it was so moving and so horrible. That was a very easy scene to play, to be moved, because you just felt desolate.
Yeah.
And that was a scene that stood out for me because it was so realistic, and so it was quite a short scene, and I had lots of lovely scenes, but that one was just, I can't say I enjoyed it, but it was one that moved me.
Yeah.
Almost more than anything.
And Annie, what about for you when you think back to your time and you know, your character? What stands out for you as one of those scenes?
Well, when Terry found out that Daniel wasn't his, and he came into the back garden and I was feeding Daniel, and he just went, "He's not mine, is he? He's not mine, is he?"
Mm-hmm.
And he started pushing me around, and he went, "Terry's firing blanks, isn't he? That's why Daniel's not my kid." And he just started to go into one, and he went, "I hope you die of AIDS, slag." And I mean, you wouldn't get scenes like that written today. It was just a bit, yeah. But it was really powerful scene, and he actually really scared me. And I mean, it was a really powerful moment because he found out that the child wasn't his, that he'd spent 9 months with, or a year. And you know, I just remember it was really well written. Maybe Jimmy McGovern wrote it. I don't know. I can't remember. Peter Cox. It was really powerful. Yeah, yeah, scary. And he tried to run me over on the close with his taxi.
Really great issue, you know, the issues that we dealt with.
Yeah, yeah. I used to get letters all the time from people saying, "Oh, I'm in the same situation and I can't tell my partner and I don't know what to say." You know?
I used to get letters from people saying, "I wish my husband was like you." I'm very sorry, you know.
Marie Davis,
Yeah.
thank you for obviously being here. What about you? When you think back to your character and your time on the show, what scene stands out, you know, for you as one of your favourites and most enjoyable?
There was a storyline, I mean, only in Brookie, when my boyfriend got blown up in a bomb explosion. The big scene when Claire was in it and everybody in the close, and it was just chaos. And Jason Shadwick, who played my fiance in it, he obviously, you know, got blown up. And I just remember doing all the scenes at the grave. And then it was because when you film, like I think Suzanne mentioned before, you always film most of the time out of like chronological order. So I was like, is he dead? Is he still alive? Am I sad? Am I like, you know, it was really, really difficult. And it went for so long, and I just remember it just took it out of you because you were just constantly crying at the grave, and you know, very emotional scenes. And then another one as well, similar to Marji's storyline, my character had an abortion as well, so they were just sort of my sort of scenes that were quite difficult really in terms of really poignant storylines, as what Phil Redmond did, you know, back then. So yeah, that was memorable. To be honest, more funny scenes for my character rather than sad scenes. But you know, I was there for 4 years, not as long as some of, you know, you guys who probably had so much more storylines than I did. But you know, it was just such an honour to be part of it. And as someone said before, we were like a family. It was just lovely. And it feels like we've never been apart, weirdly. It's dead weird.
You have to say, I haven't skipped since I stopped wearing the ice socks. Do you remember that one line? I haven't skipped since I stopped wearing the ice socks. Do you remember? But you couldn't say it.
Yeses, couldn't say
yeah.
it.
Say it, Annie, go on.
Brilliant. Leon, what about you when you think back to your time and your character? What stands out as one of those moments and scenes that just stands out for you as one of your favourites?
To be honest, loads. Like I was only in it for 4 years, but those 4 years, if you track, like what I'd gone from being a suspected drug dealer to traveling around the world to pool boy to like having affairs, a bingo caller, like I kind of had a lifetime within those 4 years. And I had loads of big emotional scenes. It was I was quite lucky actually because they took a chance on me really. It was like my first job. I'd been at college, like drama college, and then I'd come into this. And I think for lots of us, we were it was our very first job. So I was being given all these big scenes and I was like, just kind of rolling with it. And because he had such support, like especially Mickey and Lewis, those guys, they really, from the day dot, it was like, told me the ropes, told me what was going on. And it was a bit, everybody was so supportive there. And then when I got with Suzanne, it was like I found my soulmate, you know what I mean, to work. Even now to this day, it's like she's, you know, my best friend. But a lot of the scenes that we had were big emotive, but the things that I, now working as a director and working in soaps, the thing you took for granted in Brookside is how big and vast they did, the stuff that they did, massive explosions. I was involved in like one of the big storylines when I first come in was a big racial storyline because me and Suzanne got together. Her brother, who was Anne-Marie's fiance, got in with the like a National Front group. And they hated the fact that it was like a black guy with a white girl. So he you know, causing traffic. And I've gone into 3 different soaps now, and they've all done similar storylines that we did 20 odd years ago. And literally, but what we did is the guy, which you'd never get away with, who said before, like some of the stuff that we'd get away with in Brook, I'm not even getting away with it. It's a different time. But like the character who was coming after us, he was like the big baddie. He was, I think his name was Paul, or his character was called Paul. But I remember thinking he was one of the best actors I've ever worked with. But he tried to petrol bomb us, and literally as he threw the petrol bomb, it went all down him, and he was in flames, and he was rolling around the close, this man on fire, and it was like, sorry for, I'm going to swear, but I'm in a soap opera, and we're doing big Hollywood kind of. Yeah. There's no expense spared when it comes to stunts. And again, in the fire in Margie's house, yeah, your house burnt down, but I nearly bloody burnt down. Oh, actually, I was the cause of it because I was having a bath lighting candles. You lit the candles. And then the candles caught on fire, and I nearly died. But the bath, there was no hot water, so they filled up the bath with tubs of water. It was freezing cold, and I'm there with nothing on because they wanted to do a bum shot. A bum shot. I was like, because the Brookside was famous for doing people's bum shots, so I had to like lie there, lie there, like stay there for, and literally firemen pulling me out. It was freezing cold because it was one of those times where it was meant to be like autumn or summertime, and we were filming it in freezing cold or whatever. But yeah, I've got loads of crazy memories, like just big. I was involved in massive, you know, helicopters, crash seizures, getting locked up inside people's houses. And I was a bingo as well. I was a secret bingo caller to make some money on the slide. Loads of memories in such a small space of time. Best training ground I've ever had. I always say that, like, Brookside was like my university. It's like, it taught me everything. It taught me how to live my life. It taught me how to go out and party. It taught me how to be professional on set. It taught me how to be a director as well. It's like everything I've learned in life came from this show, so I'm very thankful.
Mark, we were talking a little bit earlier about how Brookside would often be the first of doing things, you know, storylines, and some of the stories were just absolutely huge. And for your character of Gordon, I mean, am I right in saying the first openly gay character on British TV soap?
That is correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got there just before EastEnders, I think, or they got there after us, depending which way you look at it. But no, we were the first. Yeah, absolutely the first. And Stephen Parry, who played my partner in it, Christopher Duncan, we're still friends and still chat, still 30 years on, which is great. But yeah, we had. I mean, it's funny how you kind of think of sometimes the more serious scenes as the ones that you enjoy in inverted commas more. You know, you kind of we had great fun and great laughs doing the whole show. But many of my scenes, and I did 4 years, like some of the other folks here, I did 4 years. And most of the scenes really were primarily with the parents and the partner and the sister and the dog and the granny. But, you know, we were quite self-contained in our house, which was lovely, really lovely. So I thoroughly enjoyed just doing scenes with other people, other characters from the close. So they were usually, you know, I was usually at a barbecue or a party or something like that. That was the thing. I didn't have a lot to do with other characters. But in terms of, you know, the important things that I just think about off the top of my head, early on, obviously my character was coming back from France, and the parents didn't know that he was gay. So coming out to them, you know, I enjoyed doing those scenes. And I remember remember it terribly well because the script, you know, Jim Wiggins, who played my dad, he just had the character had this sort of mental block about homosexuality. He was just never able to speak the word homosexual. So you just look at his script; it just had HO ... HO ... And so at least the 2 episodes ended with him going, "You're not honestly saying, Gordon, that you're a hot, you know." It's like he's having anesthesia. And then about the 3rd episode, you know, he got to grips with it. But that was quite funny. I mean, I love Doreen and Jim. They're absolutely a class act to work with because they were so different, and they were just brilliant. But and also later on when it dealt with the AIDS issue. In fact, it's the era, my era of It's a Sin. You know, this is what we were doing then, and the new show it's kind of quite weird how it's just all not come back because it's never been away, but how it's being looked at now, and it's weird to think that we were there or I was there, kind of in the middle of it, doing it then, sort of 30 plus years ago, 32, 34 years ago. But yeah, when they dealt with the AIDS issue, I remember that very well, and I just thought how important it was at the time, and how you know how privileged I felt to be part of an important movement, because that's sort of what it became, was a movement. So but I enjoyed it as well, you know, dramatically. It was just great to do. And I remember with the AIDS issue, you know, that my character Gordon had the tests, and there were, you know, a couple of episodes waiting for the results, as indeed as an actor was I, because I didn't know quite which way those results would go, and if it went badly, then I would probably be gone from the show. And I remember so well back in Brighton, a Sunday night, and it's about 9:30, and I had a phone call from the producer, Stuart Doughty. I mean, it had never happened before. I don't think a producer's ever phoned me before or since, actually. And he just said, "Look, don't worry, Mark. You know, you're gonna be okay." And I just thought that was such a lovely thing to say, because you know you were, I was concerned, you know. So I always remember that. So he was a good man. And other things, just briefly, I remember, you know, sort of action stuff. My granny, you know, me and Stephen Perry just rescuing her from this ghastly care home. Again, it's another story that since has become, you know, public sort of knowledge in a way. Treatments in certain care homes. But yeah, that was quite powerful as well. You know, just rescuing a granny from this bad treatment and sort of, you know, pushing her in a wheelchair down the streets of Liverpool. It was great fun. It's just great fun to do, but it was important. You know, and there's just so much stuff that one forgets really until, you know, Lewis, people like you remind me. And it's important. It was important then, and it's still important now.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for sharing that. That was incredible to hear. So thank you for sharing your favourite moments and your stories. And we'll go over to John now. And John, I've got to say, you haven't aged since like the pictures that I've seen of you during the show.
Well, I beg to disagree, like, you know, I'm biased. But I think what you've just said, what Mark's just said, and other people have said, we've been very lucky as actors, I think, working on that program, because we were given storylines and scenes to do, which I don't think we'll ever get a chance to do again in the many dramas, not like we've done in Brookside, because most of us has covered every emotion, and we've had some fantastic writers to write for us as well. So, you know, I also, you know, like, I was only there 5 years. And after those 5 years, it taught me everything I need to know about the business in terms of camera craft and what have you, and working. But I mean, I was lucky to have 2 very wonderful actresses to play opposite me, you know, like Sue Johnson and Kate Fitzgerald. And when you're working with someone like that, you have to give what they give back to you. You know what I mean? You have to come up to the mark, because they're so good that you think, I can't let them down. You just can't let these people down, because your fellow actors, whoever you're working with, every one of you are really good actors, because that's why you're there. That's why you're in Brookside, because you've been picked because you're bloody good. But one of my favourite scenes, though, I'll give you this one. Everyone will think it's the one where I tear up the clothes in my car. But it's not that one, really. It's when Kate Fitzgerald leaves me. And the thing is, when you've worked with an actress for 4 years and you've done loads of good scenes with her, it's easy to emote about her because she was going. She was leaving the show. So therefore, you could pull out all that emotion of what's in the script and the relationship you've had with that actress, and you just use it. I know it can be selfish sometimes to use that as a springboard emotion, and that was one of my favorite ever scenes, is when she leaves, not because she's leaving, but because she was so strong and so good. All I had to do was react. I didn't have to do any acting. She did it all. She was like, she had more to say than me. And the weird thing about that, there's another story to that where the camera was on me. A lot of it, when they found out later, it was soft. So they had to shoot it again. But Kate, by this time, was out of contract. And I said, I don't think I can do it with anyone else. I don't think I can do it with someone just standing in. I said, because of what she gave me and that. And I said, can't you get Kate back? They said, no, we can't pay her. We're not paying it. And I thought that was a bit awful, really. And I went, never mind. And anyway, Kate found out about it and she said, I'm coming back. I don't want paying. I'm coming back for you.
Oh,
and I thought,
lovely.
And God bless her. She came back. She came back for my eye. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And, you know,
okay, darling,
that's professionalism for you, and friendship. So it was great.
I mean, John, you were such a big character in the show, and when you left, it was such a shock. So what was the reason you left? Was it just, did it feel like the right time at that point?
I think I was coming up to 40, right? And thought, I'm getting on here now. And I thought, I'm coming up to 40 and I want to spread my wings a bit more. I could have stayed. I know I could have stayed, but I took a chance and I thought, I've got to go and see if I can go. I became an actor to play different characters, and I was playing one character for 5 years. And I thought, even though I love that character and I love playing him, I thought I've just got to take a chance and get out there. And because of the support I had of my family, and also because of the reputation of Brookside's, the reputation I had within the business, you got work. You got work when you left because people respected what they saw on Channel 4, you know, twice or three times a week. And it surprised me. I used to go into meetings and they'd go, you know, some high profile work and stuff. And I'd go, did you used to watch Brookside? They went, we loved it. And these are like big BBC executives. And they go, we love Brookside. It was fantastic. You know, it was such a good show and all that. So yeah, it was a chance, you know, I took a chance and it worked. Yeah.
John, thank you so much. Paula, yes. I know that you're going to go now, so very quickly, Paula, what about you? What stands out as your favourite moment?
Well, I had absolutely loads of amazing moments, but can I just say, because John's just spoken, I want to say to John that I played your daughter-in-law, and my biggest dream would have been to actually have done scenes with John, because I was a fan before, like most of us were, and I remember getting the part, and then I ended up Diana married Rod, and I was like, oh my God, please let them bring the parents. I just wanted to work with John. And I'm going to sound like a big, massive fan now, but I think I went to see Mickey in, it might have been Bebop Alula on Playhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to the toilet and there was a little anti-space in the Playhouse, and you actually walked into the space. There was no one else there, me and you. And you won't remember, but you're like, oh, I was just like, must have been a fan. And I just went, ah. And then the moment went, and I just like, afterwards it goes, why didn't I say, oh my God, you're my father-in-law. So I've always wanted to, like, you know, speak to you and say that. But yeah, I love my time on Brookside. Oh, and you know what, you're amazing, really amazing. I'm just sorry we didn't cross there. So yeah, I had loads of brilliant storylines, loved every minute. In a short space of time I had sieges, got stood up at the altar and 2 weddings, and obviously couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't count, got raped, slit me, not my throat, but no, I got all dramatic now, slit me wrists, had therapy, you know, all kinds of went on. I loved it, and I loved being with Annie as well, just on the short scenes that we had, and Mickey, of course, and guys, I'm really happy to meet you two on Zoom. I think I've seen Suzanne a few times in person, but hiya, and Claire, of course, as well. Claire, before I go as well, sorry, I took you right off your script there, Lewis. But Claire went to Elliot Clark and full time, and I just went on a Saturday, and Claire was a brilliant dancer and everything, doing split runs across the room, and I was like sliding across the back of the room, and the teacher was like, "Excuse me, girl, get back to that." I was like, "Oh no," because I really wanted to go to the acting classes, but like I had to sign up for all of these things. So I remember Claire from there, and obviously we've bumped into each other. Yeah. So I've always taught exercise and done that. I used to do sometimes 7 till 7 at Brookie and go to the gym and do an 8 till 9 class teaching. So I never stopped. You know, it's just life, isn't it? But guys, it's lovely to see you all. And sorry I've got to bail. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I've got to put my boy to bed.
Oh, bye, John. Bye.
Lewis, I've got to put my boy to bed.
Oh, thank you so much, Claire. You're an absolute Brookside legend, and you're involved in some of the biggest stories. So thank you for being part of this. I mean, very quickly at the top of your head, do you have a standout scene that you can think of?
I just want to quickly say, I want to back up what Leon said. You know, I was singing on a cruise ship, and I went into Brookie, and I learned everything from Sue Jenkins and Dean Sullivan. They were so brilliant, and I just watched and learned from them, and they literally took me under the wing. And you know what got to do? I became a gun-toting, drug-dealing lesbian and got to kind of do everything, really, you know. Just quickly before I go, I'll just tell you one quick scene. The first big dramatic scene I ever had, it was my character was smuggling drugs into Bangkok.
Oh, yeah.
Teddy bear. And I had this scene, I had this scene with a teddy bear, and I'm at Liverpool Airport, and I thought I'd be going to Thailand, you know, stupid. Well, I'm at Liverpool Airport to speak, and they put me on, like, you know, the travelator, and I do this scene where I get arrested by the Thai police officers and makeup spraying me with water to make me look sweaty and all that because I'm in Thailand. And I've got this whole monologue. Mommy, Jackson, why did you go to jail? I didn't go to jail. The punchline, Jackson. So I get to the end of the travelator. I'm doing this monologue. I've acted my heart out. Director says cut, and I think, oh, brilliant. I remember the words. I nailed it. I was all right. And then we have to go again because behind me there was a picture saying "Welcome to Liverpool's Albert Dock." To cover it up, so they put an orchid in front of it and made me do it again.
Oh God!
You know, I want to just acknowledge Sue and Jean who aren't here tonight, but they literally taught me everything. You know, Mickey taught me how to laugh and enjoy the job, and you know, I've got to put my boy to bed. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Jen.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
And Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, your character was quite a complex character at times. I mean, unpredictable, quite vindictive in some scenes early on. So what stands out for you as kind of one of your favourite scenes? Because you were involved in some of the show's biggest stories.
Yeah, I think with me, you know, I was a child actor at the time, and we came in on such a bang. So I was kind of really spoiled because I came in with like there was rain machines, cranes. It was like a movie set. I mean, they turned Chilwell into this like Hollywood movie set at the time because it was such a big, massive storyline, and you know, the explosion and it was just absolutely incredible. So all those scenes to come in as a child and be on night shoots and, you know, all these big dramatic things going on, it was breathtaking, really, and something that, you know, you just took for granted at the time because you thought, oh, this is how it is in dramas, but it actually is not. And we were so lucky, and I was so lucky. And as you know, the other guys were saying then, I learned everything on the trade, and to be surrounded by such incredible actors and actresses, and you know, to have the most incredible scripts to kind of to act. And I came in on a bang, and I went out on the stage, which was like kind of when the whole place got taken hostage, and I fell out of a window and was doing green screen, and it was I had such a roller coaster of storylines. I think the one main storyline though that stands out for me was we were in a graveyard in Chilwell, and I had to sit at my dad's grave, Greg Shadwick's grave, and I had to break down. And it was one of these moments where you've got what Mickey was talking about, the tear stick, and you're like shoving it. But I think it was the reality of sitting there, and you know, Mark had gone, and the family had been broken up, and I literally just bawled my heart out, because I don't know if you ever remember this, Suzanne. I was talking to Claire on a radio show the other day. We actually got told we were leaving, me and Suzanne, and I'd just been to town, and I was just been to buy Westlife Flying Without Wings, and I put it on my CD player with one of my first paychecks, and I was all like happy, and I remember listening to this Flying Without Wings, and then getting this phone call. It was when we had house phones. We don't have house phones anymore. And I answered the house phone, and it was Suzanne. And she's like, Jen, the family have been axed. And I was like, oh. And she went, you know, we're going. And I remember just thinking, this little unit that we built, all the auditions together.
Like a real family, maybe.
Yeah, and to have it broken apart, you know, and then you're facing, it's changed your life, and then to think that this is all going to end overnight, and I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. And you know, Mark was just so fantastic, so I think everything just kind of accumulated, and then sitting at that grave, I sobbed for us. I know it sounds terrible, but for what we'd got together, and you know, it was all being broken apart, and the times we'd had. And yeah, I think that's the most memorable scene ever for me, and it mightn't have come across, you know, for the audience as great, but for me it was so emotional and so kind of just like yeah.
I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining us on this reunion and sharing some of your kind of funny stories. And
I will say, kind of like tying up what Jenny said, the thing that Brookside had gone for it, and Phil Redmond and all the people there, they always managed to team up young, fresh talent with amazing older actors. And it was like the actors taught us how to, and it was kind of, it was weird. And I've worked on loads of different shows now, and you don't really get the same type of thing, but Brookside did that. And all of the more mature actors always took whoever was in their family under their wing and trained you up to be the best that you could be. And that's why such amazing talent has come from that show, because it's like a knockout, it's like a Ponzi scheme is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? The people at the top always feed down to the people at the bottom and help them nurture them and grow. And it's like, whenever you come into contact with anybody who's had anything to do with Brookside, no one's ever got a bad word to say about it because of that. It was magic.
Can I just add to that as well? They took, the casting department and Phil Redmond took a chance on the unknown, and that's why I think, like, you didn't have to have a massive TV, you didn't have to have all kinds of credits to be a name. And I think that's why it was so raw and so good, because there was so, you know, Phil Redmond took a chance on so many people and made so many careers. And, you know, you have we all know you have doors shut in your face because you haven't done this or that, or you're not, you know. And I just think he did take that chance, and that we've all got so much to be thankful for. I know I have, because it just changed my whole life.
But honestly, I want to say a massive thank you to you all for being so generous with your time today and taking part in this big Brookside reunion, sharing stories that we would never have heard before, and sharing your experiences. So thank you so much to all of you for taking part today.
Thank you.
Thanks for organising it, Lewis.
Thank you.
Nice to see everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Hopefully we'll see each other in real life properly. We can hope.
We need to organise a real life one.
A real life reunion. Yeah, we'll cry together.
Yeah, see you, John.
See you, everyone.
I'm really excited to bring on my next guest, who's kindly agreed to come on for a chat, who couldn't make the reunion last week, but kindly joining us today to share her experience, of course, on your iconic Brookside. So let's say hello to the brilliant Sarah White. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you. So you were just saying before we came on that this is your first interview actually on Zoom, which is kind of the way of the world now. So thank you for being, you know, your first one. So obviously last week you couldn't make the reunion and you were missed, but it's great to get you on now. And what I would love to ask you really, which is how you got your part in Brookside. Of course, was it something you just auditioned for and then got the part?
Well, you're going back some years now. I was in my final year at drama school, and I was writing all the letters, as you do, to anyone you can think of about my final showcase at drama school. And I wrote a letter to the then executive producer, Mal Young, saying, you know, I'm from Liverpool, I'm doing my final showcase. If you happen to be in London on these dates, you know, I'd be delighted if you could come along and see it. And he wrote a very nice letter back saying he wasn't going to be, but next time I'm in Liverpool, please get in touch and maybe we could meet for a general casting. And then I found myself in Liverpool quite soon after for another audition, so got in touch and they brought me in. And it wasn't for any particular part, it was just for a chat and to put something on video. Yeah, they gave me a bit of an old script and we went through it. That was that. And then I went away, and then quite soon afterwards got a phone call asking me to audition for the part of Bev. So I went back in and I read with Vince Earl, who played Ron. I didn't realise at the time, but I was the only person they saw for the part. And then I got the part. Good job, right? Well, no competition, maybe that's why I got the part.
Well, I mean, did you actually watch the show prior to being a cast member on it? Was it something that you would watch as an avid viewer?
Yeah, you know, it was. I was in drama school. I was at drama school in London, and everyone used to say to me, "You'll end up in Brookside. You'll end up in Brookside." And I'd go, "No, darling, it's the Royal Shakespeare Company for me." And then, you know, within 4 or 5 months, I was in Brookside, and I was delighted to be in Brookside.
I mean, you were such a big part of the show, and I mean, you did a lot of episodes. So when you originally joined the cast, did you ever anticipate that you would have such a long run in the show?
Not at all. I had I was contracted to be there for 3 months. I was maternity leave for Eithne Browne, who played Dee Dee Dixon, Ron's wife, because she was having a baby. So she, in real life, so she needed to disappear for a while. So my storyline was to cover her disappearance. You know, I was the affair, and then she'd drop off and then come back when Irene had had a baby. So yeah, I was booked for 3 months, and then they just book you an extra, you know, another month. You'd be booked a month at a time. And that probably went on for the first year. And then once I'd been there for a year, they asked me to become a regular character. So yeah, initially I was there for 3 months, stayed at my mum and dad's, you know, thinking, well, this job will finish and then I'll go back down to London.
Wow, you were there for a lot longer, which fans...
And I'm still in Liverpool now.
When we did the reunion, I asked everybody to tell us kind of a funny behind-the-scenes story that we wouldn't know about, and a lot of people actually mentioned Michael Starke being a bit of a prankster on set. And I mean, most stories kind of involved him, but what's a funny behind-the-scenes story that you can kind of remember that always brings back fun memories?
I can't tell what makes me smile. When I was pregnant in real life and I had to go off to have the baby, the storyline was that Bev had married her gay best friend's boyfriend, so he could stay in the country because he was Brazilian. So they could be together. I'd marry the boyfriend. So then I married the boyfriend, and then someone snitched, and I had to go on the run because I thought the police were after me for, you know, marrying under false pretenses. So Bev had to disappear into the sunset, hiding from the police for so many months while I had my baby. And Bev at the time had come into lots of money, and she had this little flash pink MG, old MG. And I was very heavily pregnant, the size of a bus. So even though it was the summer, they had me in this gigantic floor-length fake fur coat day and night to try and cover the bump. I just looked like a furry tent. Anyway, so the final shot was me flouncing off in the furry coat, slamming the door, driving off into the sunset. So roll cameras, action. I'm flounce as much as you can do when you know, a ship in full sail. Go to get into the car. I can't fit in the car. I'm that big, and an MG is tiny and really low, isn't it? And I'm kind of trying to sink to get into the car. I couldn't get in the car. Well, we tried and we tried. There was no way. I was bigger than the car. In the end, our floor manager, Illy, who was a man, but with well, actually, did they stick him in a wig? Or he had quite long hair. I can't remember. They just had to do a long shot of our floor manager in this fake fur coat, pretending to be me, getting in the car and driving off because I was too fat for the car.
That's incredible. That's one of the best funny behind the scenes stories that we've had yet. And we didn't have any kind of like that on the reunion. That's brilliant. And another question that we asked everybody on the reunion, of course, was what stands out to them as their favorite storyline. I know for you, you were involved in so many big stories, so I guess that's kind of difficult to pinpoint it down to just one. But if I was to ask you now for a standout, what would you say?
There were so many, and bizarrely, you can't remember a lot of them. You know, people will sometimes say, "Oh, I love that storyline," and blah blah blah, and I have no memory of it. And an example of that was with the coronavirus when it first hit. It kind of, there were all these all these old clips of Brookside where there was a pandemic on Brookside Close, which, you know, I think the press might have mocked Brookside for at the time. And they were showing us all these clips of us kind of going, get out of town so we don't, you know, we're not hit by the pandemic. I have no memory. People were saying to me, you've been through a pandemic before. I was like, what? So there were so many, but one of my favorites, I think, and I've got really fond memories of it, was our trip to Benidorm. Long before the show Benidorm was conceived, Brookside did Benidorm, and it was Jackie Dixon's hen do, and Bev, of course, invited herself. You know, whether Jackie liked it or not, Bev was going. And we spent 2 weeks filming in Benidorm, and it was, and we just howled with laughter for the whole time. It was a brilliant storyline. There were great episodes as well, but we had so much fun doing them.
Did you get time to enjoy the, you know, Benidorm for like a holiday, or was it just kind of intense filming at the time?
Oh, we had our nights out. Funnily enough, we were staying in this hotel. It was in March, so the weather was a bit hit and miss. Sometimes, you know, there'd be beautiful days, and other days we're supposed to be sunbathing by the pool, and wardrobe are trying to peel our cardigans off us. And we're going, no. Yeah, the hotel we stayed in was an all-inclusive, where we did a lot of the filming, was an all-inclusive hotel, and it was open, you know, to holidaymakers. So we all got all-inclusive bands. So everyone went straight to the bar as soon as we wrapped every night. You'd have to fight the crew to get to the bar first. So we all had an all-inclusive holiday on our shoot, which was fun.
God, that's a perk of the job, that's for sure. Does it surprise you how legendary Brookside has become? Because I mean, here we are, nearly 20 years since the show has finished, and I mean, on social media, there's so many fan clubs with thousands and thousands of members, and this show lives on. People are constantly sharing their favorite moments, favorite scenes. So does it ever surprise you that it's got the legacy that it has now?
It speaks volumes to the show, and it's really flattering when someone comes up to you and says something, but it's so long ago now. I mean, my daughter, I think, was 2 or 3 when the show finished, and she's going to be 20 in July. You know, that's how I mark how long it is since the show finished. So for people to even remember, especially younger people, because people say, oh, I remember, and I think, it must have been about 5 when the show was on, you know, but there's an affection for it, and that's lovely.
And the great thing about the show, we touched upon it in the reunion that we filmed, is it was kind of the first to do a lot of things in regards to storylines. I mean, despite there being EastEnders, Corrie and Emmerdale, Brookside always had that, you know, gumption to go further and test the water and do stuff for the first time? I mean, would you say that's the reason for its success?
Yeah, definitely. It was very groundbreaking. And then years later, there'd be a storyline on EastEnders or Corrie, and they'd go, it's the first time that, you know, we've ever seen this in a soap. And you'd think, oh, hang on, I'm sure I remember that going on in Brookside about 12 years ago, you know, or whatever. It was incredibly groundbreaking and refreshing, I think, in that way. And that's what made it, you know, so real in so many ways.
I mean, what was your thoughts when they announced that this show was coming to an end? Because this was a part of people's lives for 20 years. And then all of a sudden, you know, you find out that actually they're not renewing it and it's not continuing. So what was your reaction to that news?
Well, it wasn't a shock because, you know, there'd been rumours for many months. So we were kind of waiting for the announcement. So, you know, it was sad and it was a shame. But I think, well, definitely I'd got my head around it happening beforehand. So it certainly wasn't a shock. Yeah, it was just, you know, you could kind of cry into your tea, but as an actor, jobs are really, really short, and I got a great run. So it would appear, you know, you just kind of, that's life, and that's what happens with acting jobs usually. I mean, the last acting job I had was 1 day long. So, you know, that's just the way it is. So I will always be really grateful because it was my first job, and wow, what a first job to have. And I got, you know, as I say, I thought I was doing 12 weeks and I got years and years and years. So I can't complain. And I just kind of, at the time, was quite a little bit sad, but quite philosophical and kind of, well, you know, they're the breaks. You move on and see what's next.
So what's life been like for you since leaving the show now? I mean, what kind of projects have you been working on, and have you got anything coming up? Because I know productions are starting to go again. Yeah,
I mean, bits of everything really, whatever comes up, whether it be theatre or TV or radio, or, you know, I've just got a tiny part in a film that was released a few weeks ago, a film called Ammonite. So whatever comes along. And as you can imagine, and I'm sure it was touched on, you know, when you had your other Zoom with everyone last week, you know, the last year, just, no, zero. Well, one, so I'd just come out of Panto. Then I think I did a brilliant thing for just before lockdown, music video with Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott, myself and Vince as well. We did that, and then we went into lockdown, and so that was it. Apart from a small part in Moving On, the BBC, which was aired recently. Last year, it was just like a lot of people at home and no work, and you know, I'm still waiting for it to pick up for me. So very quiet at the moment.
And if they were to ever bring Brookside back and you had the opportunity to return as Bev, is that something that you would consider?
I don't think Brookside will ever come back. So, but I don't know. It was some kind of crazy one-off. Where are they now? And it would be tempting because she was such good fun to play. And even having that one day with Vince on set last year was so much fun. I think I could possibly have my arm twisted as a kind of where are they now one-off situation, but I think that's all pie in the sky. I'll eat my hat if that ever happens.
I'll remember that. I'm really hopeful. I mean, the love that Brookside has since this reunion's been announced, it's made some headlines and people seem to really want to see it back. So fingers crossed somebody's watching that can make it happen. But Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. It took me ages to find you, and I don't normally message on social media, so I do apologize, but thank you for being so kind for coming on.
No worries at all. It's been a pleasure.
So hello and welcome to the Lewis Nichols show for this Brookside special reunion. And the lovely lady here now couldn't make the reunion last week, but kindly agreed to come on for a solo chat. So let's say hello to the lovely Rachael Lindsay. How are you?
Hello, Lewis. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Really good, thank you. I'm so happy that you come on, because I know you would have loved to have been part of the 15 cast.
Yeah, it would have been lovely to. I mean, most of them, I kind of still keep in touch with, but you named a few names there that I haven't spoke to for a while. So it would have been lovely to see them catch up, but unfortunately I couldn't make it. But I'm here now anyway, so.
I was going to say, we were just saying then before you came on that, I mean, it's been 20 years, nearly 20 years since the show was off our screens. Yeah, it seems to have got this new life again, where so many people are talking about it.
I know.
Does that surprise you?
Yeah. It doesn't really, because people still kind of like recognize you in the street and things like that. So, and people still want to talk to you about it. A certain age group, obviously, the younger generation. Although you're young, I'm quite surprised that you're kind of into it so much. But yeah, at the moment, it seems a bit of a buzz going on about it, and yeah, a lot of it, a lot of interest and people wanting to talk about it and what have you. But you know what? It was so iconic, and it was so good in its day, and yeah, it was a shame it came to an end, but all good things do. And yeah, I'm very proud that I was a part of it. Most definitely.
And can you remember your audition and the audition process when you got the part? I mean, do you have any stories in regards to your audition?
Not really. I mean, I was 15, so at 15 you just go along with things, don't you? Do you know what I mean? I think if I went for the audition today, I'd be terrified. I'd be really nervous. But now, I was 15 at the time, and I do remember there was another girl who was auditioning with me for the part, who I went to the same drama school with, and it always kind of got down to me and her for parts, in the school plays and things like that, and she always got them. And when I saw her at the audition, I thought, oh well, she's going to get it, but she didn't get that one. I got that one. I got the best one. But yeah, and I just remember we read, and then we got called back, and then I was reading with different adults who were they were trying to match up the dad and the other kids and the mom, and then I was at home, and I got the phone call from the agency I was with at the time, and I was like, I didn't quite believe him at first, and then I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And yeah, it was exciting. It was great. I wasn't aware of how massive it was going to be and how it was going to kind of impact on my life then. But yeah, because all through school, my only interest was drama, and I just wanted to act. That's all I wanted to do. So for me, it was brilliant. It was just brilliant.
I mean, obviously, you were young when you joined the show, and when you joined, it was well established and hugely successful. So did that ever kind of add pressure with you being so young to join such a hugely popular show? Did you ever feel pressure at times?
Again, in different ways, you'd feel pressure. Again, at that age, you're not aware of things like that, are you? So I just went in, and I was excited. And we were a new family, and we got the scripts, and, I was learning so much. And it was great. We worked hard, but we laughed a lot as well. And yeah, it was brilliant. So kind of the pressure of it already being established, and that again, that awareness you don't really have at that age. But then obviously 15, 16, 17, 18 being, I mean, back then there was only like 4 channels. It wasn't like today where there's so many things to choose from. There was 4 channels, and it was huge. It was massive, and you couldn't go anywhere without being recognized. And sometimes it wasn't nice recognition. People could be quite rude and abusive for no reason. I don't know why. They didn't know you. They just, I don't know, felt like they wanted to just shout some abuse at you. But So that was hard, you know, because I was kind of going through that stage where I was starting, you know, 18, going out with my mates to clubs and wanting to be young, and that was hard. That side of things, the social aspect and trying to fit in and be normal, was a bit hard, really. But the job itself, no, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Now, I mean, on the reunion, I asked everybody if they had a funny behind-the-scenes story, because, I mean, for viewers, we don't always know what goes on behind the scenes, and we had some great stories from the cast. So do you have any, when you think back to your time on the show?
God.
Were there moments or
I'm
funny
sure there
stories?
is. I'm sure there is. But it's a few years now. And I had a baby a couple of years ago, so I really have got mushy brains. I'm sure there's lots of things that went wrong, that, you know, lots of things happened that shouldn't have happened. But I just remember, like, I used to have a great time working with everybody, but Sunetra, you know, Starke, she played Sammy's friend. She's gone on to do great things, hasn't she? We just used to just laugh and get the giggles, and it was like being back in school, you know, when you're told off by the teachers to stop laughing and you just can't stop and things like that. Just, you know, Stephen Pinder, who played Max Farnham, I had me and him just, honestly, I'd have to get him to turn away and not look at me, because I'd just laugh, and I used to have to flirt with him and stuff like that. And it was not hard because, you know, he was lovely, but hard because, you know, you couldn't stop yourself laughing and stuff. But I mean, I'm sure there's loads of mad things that went on and stuff. But like I say, you know, there were long days sometimes, and yeah, you know, but there was a lot of laughter, a lot of hard work, but it was good fun. It was great. It was good. I mean, like I say, don't get me wrong, it was, I mean, if you were heavily featured in a storyline, you might as well have moved in there, you know, and actually lived in those houses, because you were just round the clock. You know, you go from one shoot to the other shoot to a midnight shoot, and you were back in at 5 the next morning, and you know, they were long days. And Brookside was set in real houses. We weren't studio. So we literally worked with one camera. So the amount it takes and, you know, different shots we'd have to do. Whereas in studio, you can have 5 cameras. So you can get one scene done in, you know, half an hour, whereas it takes us, you know, much longer. But no, yeah, it was good. It was good fun. If anything comes to me, Lewis, I'll message you. I'll message you the story later. Some things are coming to me mind, but I can't tell you that.
What sort of storyline and scenes? Because you were involved in some huge storylines in the show. So when you think back to that side of things, do you have a standout storyline that you always kind of have fond memories about, that you enjoyed actually, you know, filming?
I think I was very fortunate, really, because my character got some really, really good storylines. Yeah, she was a bit of a cow, and she was, you know, she was mad, and she was a drunk and irresponsible, and that's amazing to play. Do you know what I mean? And all these great storylines. And I think from the early, I mean, there was lots, there were lots, but I think from the early days, I think Brookside touched on some of the first storylines ever in a soap. They always seemed to do that, didn't they? But it was the first kind of teenage alcoholism storyline. And playing drunk at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning isn't, easy, but it got worse than that, and she actually did have an alcohol problem. And I think what amazed me was the amount of letters I got from young people who were struggling with alcoholism, and that really that saddened me, really. So yeah, I think that storyline sticks out because it reached out to so many young people who were struggling like she was. And then obviously, you know, she had the baby and she left the child home alone, and you know, there was all that kind of stuff. And I think she flirted with most of the males on Close. I think she went out with most of them. She was married a few times. But yeah, she was amazing to play. You know, very dramatic. I loved the kickoff, all the kickoffs. You know, yeah, she was. I liked her. I liked playing her. She was good from an actress's point of view. It was really good, and I was fortunate. I did get a lot of good storylines.
Well, you mentioned then obviously the letters that you would receive from viewers of the show, and I guess for you, the first time you get those, that must kind of make you realize, wow, you know, you're acting and you're doing these storylines, but actually people are going through that in real life. So to have people reach out and share that with you must be kind of an overwhelming feeling.
Yeah, it is. It is really because parts of you kind of feels a bit responsible. Do you know what I mean? Because you think, oh God, you know, what kind of happens to me? These people are relating to it and kind of sympathizing with it. But so you kind of want to portray it well, but then, you know, you have to step back. I'm not the writer. You know, I'm not responsible for writing these storylines. And I would, you know, it was brilliant in some ways, because some people got comfort from some of the storylines that, you know, they say, I don't feel as alone, or, you know, or what help that person or character gets in that storyline kind of would help them to get help then. But yeah, I think if they could relate to it, it was great. The letters that I found a bit weird were the ones who actually thought you were that person. They used to freak me out a little bit, but because they didn't get that I was an actor playing Sammy. They thought I actually was Sammy, and that I used to get quite a lot of them. And I was amazed at like things like when I had the baby in the show, I got a lot of gifts and flowers sent to me and things like that, which was lovely. Our house was absolutely full of flowers and I didn't even have to give birth. It was great. But yeah, that was quite sweet. We got a lot of booties and little cardigans and knitting and things like that sent in the post. And I always remember when Damien died. I just started when that had happened, and a lot of wreaths got sent. Wow. So things like that, you kind of think, you know, people do take these things seriously. So it can be hard, and especially when you're out in the public as well, and people come up to you who believe you are that person. And if there's a particular thing that you're doing, like I remember being in Marks and Spencer's and I was just doing some normal shopping or whatever, and the next minute I felt a whack on the back of my head, and I turned around and it was this little old lady with a handbag, and she whacked me again and told me I was a really bad mother, and I was not fit to have a child, and she hoped, because there was a court case because I'd left Louise home alone and gone off some partying, or I think she actually went on holiday. I don't know. But yeah, and there was a court case going on, and she said she hopes, you know, I go to prison. And I was like, okay, it's not actually me. My name's Rachael, and I was trying to be really polite, but she was having none of it. So yeah, things like that are a bit freaky, but the majority of it is really complimentary and nice. So yeah, when you're doing a series storyline like that, and people get some comfort from it, you know, I mean, I don't know about you, but you know, when you're going through something, and not that you're glad other people are going through it, I don't mean that, but it kind of normalizes it for you, doesn't it? And makes you not feel as alone. So that was nice. It was nice. Upsetting as well that so many young people were struggling with alcoholism. But the fact that they kind of didn't feel as alone with it, yeah, that was quite powerful, because I was only young. But like I say, I mean, you know, there was many great storylines to follow. But yeah, good days.
But I'm still in shock that you were hit over the head with a bat. I wouldn't have expected that to actually happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do in that situation.
Good job, she was just a little old lady. I mean, I've had worse than that, Lewis. I've had some pretty horrible, abusive stuff, but that's the flip side, isn't it? And I think the difference between like actors who do soaps and actors who do like dramas and films, people recognize you as an actor who was in that drama. But soaps, you're in the living rooms like 3 to 5 times a week. They get so involved with you and in your character. I think they feel they know you, and it's different. It's a different kind of recognition in a way. And I would, like I say, the majority of people were just really lovely, but yeah, some people were pretty awful, pretty horrible, really. And it was quite abusive. And when you're young, do you know what I mean? That's kind of hard to take. So there is a little flip side, but you know, the majority of it was good stuff. So if that's all you've got to kind of remember, isn't it, really, and focus on the positive, I suppose.
Well, I mean, for me, I would watch a lot of episodes on YouTube because, I mean, I was very young when it was out. So
yeah,
a lot of it I watched online. And you were just incredible, I felt, at connecting with the audience. And I think it says a lot for you as an actress that the writers would give you such big storylines at a young age. I mean, that says a lot, not only, you know, for you as an actor, but they had complete trust. So when you look at it like that, does that kind of make you feel proud that actually at such a young age they saw something in you where they could trust you to deliver these storylines?
Well, I've never looked at it like that in a way, that they trusted me. But yeah, that's a lovely way of looking at it. It really is. Thank you for saying that. But yeah, I mean, there were at times that, you know, when I get compliments down from writers, you know, like, you know, it come down from a writer. When I say come down, it like come down to the, you know, the crew, and then it go through their ears, and, you know, when you get a compliment, and or if writers say, God, I love writing for your character. And so, yeah, I suppose, yeah, it is. It's a compliment, isn't it, that I brought their hard work to life. But we also had some great directors, you know, who helped us do that. I mean, I do directing now with a group I do. And you only realise when you're on the other side how hard the directors work, really, and some of the performances that they bring out in you. And the crew, you know, it all makes for, if you're comfortable and relaxed with your cameraman and your director and stuff, you bring out a better performance. You really do. So everybody around you helps you to do that. But I loved acting. I always wanted to act. So yeah, it was a gift, really. It was a gift. When I look back now, I was really lucky to get some of those really good storylines.
Well, you did them justice, that's for sure. I mean, so what's life been like for you since the show? I mean, are you still acting? You mentioned there that you're behind the camera directing.
No, I thought, honestly, I thought I'd be acting till I couldn't act anymore, till I had no teeth and I was probably dead. And then one day I just didn't want to do it anymore. I don't know what it was. I kind of lost the love for it, and I wasn't passionate about it anymore. And excuse me. No, so basically the next chapter, I went to university and I studied and became a psychotherapist. So that's one of my careers I do now, and I've counselled over the years teenagers, adults, and I love being a counsellor. Absolutely love it. And I'm completely different in that role. It's not a role because it's me. I'm very genuine in that job. But it's an honour because people share with you the most horrendous things that they're going through. So for them to trust you, to share that with you, it's a real honour. and to be on that journey of recovery with them. So yeah, that's kind of opened my eyes, because I had counselling myself back, oh gosh, late 90s, was it, around then. And then the guy who was my counsellor said to me, you should become a counsellor. I said, no, don't be so ridiculous, I couldn't do what you do. And then years on, yeah, I ended up doing that. But I also, with my friend Keely, we run a performance group for adults and children. It's an inclusive group with learning disabilities. So, and it's massive and it's huge. And we put on big productions every year. We're just working on The Wizard of Oz, hopefully, when we're allowed to get back in the studio and stuff like that. We've done Annie and Oliver and all the big shows. So we direct and produce them. And they're fabulous. I mean, we've got such a talented group, and they perform at loads of other places. They've actually performed, they won a Queen's Award and performed for Princess Anne and stuff like that as well. So that keeps me really busy. And then I had a little girl just over 2.5 years ago. She's just amazing. She's stunning and beautiful and bright and cheeky, and it's hard work because I'm an old mum. But yeah, that's like a movie in itself, that story, because I was single for years. I decided when I was about 40, right, I'm going to do it myself. Went down the donor route, tried for 5 years, didn't happen, gave up, totally heartbroken, thought that's it, I'm too old, never have children. Met somebody, thought, well, this is a different path I'm taking, and then conceived naturally after all those years, and we're still together, and we've got a little girl together now. Yeah, so that's like a movie in itself. But so that was lovely. So I've waited a long time for her, but I think now it's probably the right time, even though I am exhausted.
That's incredible. And do you know what else is incredible? I was going to say, for you, I mean, you were an actor on this iconic show, but without knowing, you were helping people with your storylines. You were doing something that was helping other people, kind of, with what you were saying, feel like they weren't alone. And now, fast forward in regards to being a counsellor, you're doing exactly the same thing, just slightly differently. And everything that you're doing is giving something back.
Yeah, and our performance group's amazing. You have a little look at our either Facebook page or website. I'll send you the details. Ella Together, the Ella Performance Group. They're absolutely fantastic. That they're stunning. So it's again, it's hard work, but putting the shows on. I love directing and producing and doing all the lighting plots and stuff like that, and bringing performances. We had one young gentleman who's got autism, and when he first joined our group, I mean, he used to do runners out the room. He would speak to us. About 4 years down the line working with him, he played the lead. He played Scrooge, in Scrooge. And I tell you what, I'm not telling you a word of a lie, he was stunning. I know he was better than some professional actors, do you know what I mean, that I've seen. He was breathtaking. So to see what the abilities that these young people have, because all their life, they get told their disability, they get a label thrown on them, and they get told what they can't do.
Yeah.
And then they come to us, and we don't have any of that nonsense, and it's all about what they can do. And they're very capable and very talented. I mean, some of them are exceptionally talented. So I love doing that. I haven't actually gone back to my counselling since I've had Saskia, but once she kind of starts going to nursery and stuff now, because I've just wanted to enjoy my time with her. Like I say, I was single and trying and waiting. I wanted it for so long and it wasn't happening. But so I wanted to enjoy this time with her. But once, like I say, she's kind of in school and stuff, I will go back to it, because I do love doing that. So yeah, so I'm still involved in drama, but in a different way. But the other career is quite something different. Yeah, it's great. I'm very lucky, really, that I've had careers that I'm passionate about.
Well, do you know, I want to say a massive thank you for taking part in this kind of extra bit that's going on to the end of the reunion, because it's been great not only hearing about your time on Brookside, but just you talking about your other projects in regards to being a director and helping other people. The passion and the excitement that you have just comes out, and that's what I think is incredible, because you're clearly doing something now that you love just as much as when you were playing Sammy. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm very lucky, very, very lucky in that way. Yeah, I mean, it must be awful if you don't find something that you love as much after.
Yeah.
Because you're on such a high, aren't you, with a job like that? So, you know, yeah, I am quite lucky, very lucky actually, and even luckier with my little girl and my boyfriend and stuff. So yeah, good, all good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I know your fans are going to absolutely love this. So thank you for giving your time.
You're welcome, Lewis. Good luck with all this.
Thank you.
Yeah, and everything that you're doing. Thank you for asking me.